Hello, hello. Welcome to our show, Coffee with Chris. Today we have a special guest. I'm so honored to have Lori LeBay with me here. Welcome.
Well, thanks, Chris. I'm all ready to go.
All right, everybody raise your cups up. Welcome to our show, Coffee with Chris. Take a sip. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. Today is a special person. Lori LeBay is a passionate person in the dementia organization here and in the community. She's an advocate who searches for ways to shift our dementia care culture for crisis to comfort. And she was recognized by Sharecare and Dr. Oz as the number one influencer online for Alzheimer's. As a professional speaker and daughter of a mother with dementia for over 30 years, Lori gets in, understands about dementia and the changes that needed to be made in multiple levels. She also has a host of Alzheimer's Speaks Radio that we're going to be talking about today and how this has influenced the community. And a webinar series called Dementia Chats. Lori connects with best people, people with best with practices who facilitate conversations that needs for dementia care worldwide. Welcome, Lori. We appreciate you.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here, Chris. So thanks for having me on.
So, dementia, living with your mom for so many years, firsthand personal experience is by far to me is like the best in the home care industry, I know for sure. And tell me, like from the beginning of time of I'm assuming, was this your motivation and purpose to be able to create what you created?
Absolutely. I was a frustrated daughter who thought there's got to be more people out there like me, more people like my mom, my family, and there sure as heck has to be more resources. But where were they? We weren't finding them, and no one was really introducing them to us. Even when my mom got diagnosed, I mean, we we were notified through the mail. They didn't even meet with us in terms of telling us about her diagnosis. So that was really interesting. At least that's improved, and doctors, meet with people. Yet there's a lot of doctors out there that are not communicating diagnoses because they don't feel like there's any hope or any resources out there. So, yeah, I'm just out to change the world, move them from crisis to comfort, let them know that there's lots of support out there all over the world, and everybody can be part of that. And that includes those living with dementia. They are full of knowledge of what the needs are and how they can help us care better.
Yeah, I tell you, it's such a hard thing that when you're in it, and some family members and caretakers don't realize the dedication that you have to really put in. Let's. I wanted to talk to you about that. What did you see, like the experience of working with your parents? What was like for you the most rewarding?
Oh my gosh, the moments. I mean, just the intimate moments. My mom had dementia. My dad had brain cancer. Out of those 30 years of my mom with dementia, my dad had brain cancer for 4.5. And but just getting to know them on a different level, a more intimate and personal level. One where they really both taught me to put down my phone and back then my pager, know, which is really aging myself, but that the world would still spin if I sat down with them. And I remember when my dad died, for example, I had all these stories that one day I'm going to get into a book, and I was sharing them with my brothers. And they were like, well, where'd you get all these stories about mom and dad? And I remember my jaw just kind of dropping, going, well, I was there. And then I felt really sad for them because they weren't there. And they missed out on all of these beautiful, beautiful stories that just to this day still melt my heart. My dad's been gone since 2001 and my mom since 2014. And I still feel very closely connected to them. It allowed me to almost get to know them on I'll say a spiritual level, because it really was almost a religious experience of learning unconditional love at so many different levels as both their diseases progressed. I can't hear you, Chris. You're muted.
I commend you for that because statistically they say now is being a caretaker has been more difficult than it's ever has been. And but they say that most family members want to live at home and die at home till the end of time. But the caretakers realize is that they start to realize that it's beyond me to be able for me to bathe my mom and dress them and feed them. And they hire out now, but you have went through the whole journey all the way through and was her caretaker till the end. It sounds like. Did you
Well,
ever hire out ever and see that, hey, listen, it's beyond me and I need help?
mhm. So I sold real estate and I had a team of people, so I was able to really step back and be there for them. And so I was extremely fortunate. And we missed the home care sector. Uh, one, because I had that flexibility, but two, my dad had taken a fall. Went to go downstairs, and instead of taking the elevator, he fell down 2 flights of steps, and he was never able to return home again. And so he had to go into a nursing home. And the plan was always for my mom to come and live with myself and my family. And she was there probably 2 or 3 weeks. And I remember her waking up clear as a bell one morning. And this is so unusual. I've never heard of anyone this happening to. She woke up. This is a woman who couldn't tell you if she should wear her flip flops or her snow boots if she looked outside. But clear as a bell said, I want to move into the nursing home with dad. And I remember right away thinking, well, what did I do wrong? Am I not good enough? Blah, blah, blah. Don't you like it here? Taking it all personally. And she said, no, it has nothing to do with that, Lori. She's like, we've been together 49 and a half years, and I'm not leaving him now. So we went from home into the nursing home. And that was still a huge adjustment, more so probably for me than it was for either of them. And yet, getting that outside support, I don't care if it's coming into your home through a home care agency or if it gets to the point where someone is placed, there is true value in that. And a lot of times we overlook that, thinking that we're, super mom or super daughter or whatever it might be, and that we can handle all that. But when you handle it all, things are going to get missed, like taking care of yourself and having balance.
Yeah, they did not prepare us in school for this. That's for sure.
No, no. And it's nice to see they are having some conversations now in schools regarding care, because there are a lot of high school students, but even middle school students and even younger caring for family members at home.
Yes, and that education is so important, especially the beginning stages. We go through this cycle in life. I truly believe. I don't know if my parents one day, if they're going to accept wanting me to shower them and do all their personal care, and even doing their transferring. Will we be able to do that physically?
Hmm.
And where I need that help. And so I wanted to ask you this because I know that you are an expert at this. You are going through this whole journey of life. What would you say an advice for anybody out there at now as a caretaker? Is it what would be that one piece of advice you would give to them to give them some type of inspiration and motivation in during this time that they're in?
Connect with others going through this. Reach out to resources. Even if you don't need them today, be prepared for tomorrow, because it'll make your decision making process much easier. But no, you are not alone. There are so many people like you out there. And just once you connect, that isolation and that heaviness and that burden, it lifts. And you feel like you have confidence you can talk to that understand. Because a lot of times, even with our own family, they don't get it. They might not be around, or they show up every now and then, and so they show up and everyone is kind of perked up and doing fine, and then they leave after an hour or two, and things are right back to the way they always were. But the family members didn't see it, one, because they didn't want to, and two, because it was a short period of time. And a lot of times people with dementia and other chronic illnesses can kind of lift themselves up because they want to be independent. They don't want anybody looking down on them, just like the rest of us. They want to fit in. And so they muster things up to engage. And, it can be a really hard battle, especially if you're working with siblings and family members that are in denial for various reasons. And it's probably one of the most frustrating things that most care partners will talk about is how do I get them to understand? How do I get them to see what's really going on? And connecting with a home care agency like yourself, that can make all the biggest difference in the world. Just having somebody that understands the realities.
Yeah, it's so hard at the beginning stages of having that connection with your mom and your dad and seeing them in this light. And it's almost like going back to the stages of beginning of life. And so it's redirection and trying to figure out how can I still connect and give them that safe quality of life. Because that's my main thing is how much can I learn with my dementia patient that they can connect with me to help them to redirect, to feel safe in their moment of their day. And I really want to talk about Alzheimer's Speaks. You have gone into this new uh, education series to be able to go deeper into after your experiences, and you've created um, this resource for the community. And so, what is Alzheimer's Speaks? What's the purpose of it?
Well, when I stepped into this in 2009, I was actually encouraged by senior housing communities to step in because they said everything else was doom and gloom, and I was about hope and connection. And so in 2009, I said, okay, all bets down. I'm going to go in. I put my life savings, my retirement, everything on the platter and said, I am at least going to sleep good at night and say that I tried to make a difference. And so my goal was to be inclusive. I didn't feel the care and the support systems that were out there were really inclusive. In fact, back then, no one really even talked to the person with dementia. There was a belief that, you were old and senile and, you were incontinent in a wheelchair, you weren't mobile and you couldn't talk. And that's not real life with dementia. There are people out there that are still driving, still working, that have early onset or mild cognitive impairment. They keep coming up with different names and different categories all the time. So I wanted to make sure that we included the person with dementia and that we included the care partners. They have so many insights, and I know for a fact our family was, and many that I've talked to just felt like we were poo-pooed, like, yeah, get out of here, we're the experts, we know. No, you're not in the trenches and you don't know what it's like on a daily basis, and you're not listening to us. So I wanted to give everybody a voice, so those with dementia, the family and friends, as well as the professionals, the academia, as well as the medical model, and the researchers, because if we don't all work together, there's no way we're going to make sustainable change. It's just not going to happen. And I also wanted to use multimedia. So I started out with the blog, but then I started the radio show, and I interview people all around the world at all different levels. And then I started Dementia Chats, where I facilitate a conversation with people living with the disease. They pick the topic and they tell us what it's really like and how can we help, what's working, what's not working. Brought over the memory cafes from the UK. I never went over there and visited. I just talked with Norm McNamara, who is living with dementia. He connected me with people over there. And memory cafes are a whole different concept from what we had here.
Wait
We
a minute.
have,
So you have people speaking in other countries too,
oh yeah,
dementia.
oh
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
And that's called Memory Cafe.
Well, memory cafes are for people with dementia and their care partners. It's a support group. But I learned about it through Norms McNamara, who's over in the UK. And then he hooked me up with people over there, and they actually rewrote all their guidelines and everything. And they took their S's out and put our Z's back in and stuff and said, here, just take it. I mean, they didn't even want anything. But the big difference over there is government funds those groups. our government doesn't do any of that stuff over here. And so, we started those out at basically as a volunteer basis. There's about 1,000 of them now. My partner with Dementia Map has a website called Memory Cafe Directory, and that covers five different countries. And then there's like 1,000 different groups. And so we used to meet, the one that I do used to meet in person. And through COVID, we've been doing virtual. So now we have somebody from Vienna, we have somebody in New Jersey, we're located in Minnesota,
Mhm.
and anybody is welcome, to join us. And it's not about, sometimes support groups can kind of have a negative turn and people go there to complain. And I describe a memory cafe like a bowling league or a bridge club. You
Yeah.
don't show up for the equipment, you show up for the camaraderie. And so we laugh and we cry and we support one another. And a lot of times we don't really talk much about dementia. We talk about everything going on. So we know if they went to a grandchild's ball game, if they got a flat tire, if the cat's at the vet. I mean, we talk about everything, and dementia comes up as a topic just like it would with your friends. And they bring in resources, and they are filled with knowledge because they're living with it every single day. And so it's really about building a community and teaching people to live graciously together and supporting one another. So that's what memory cafes are. Um, the dementia chats, again, that's a video where people with dementia tell us, what they want. We just launched a new program called Dementia in the Arts, and that is a panel of people with dementia, and they show us their artwork and they tell us what they get out of it and what it means. And it's super powerful. I would love to get their artwork on exhibit. Started the first dementia friendly community in the United States. Again, not a concept that we developed here, that was something from overseas. And I partnered with the Lutheran Home Association, and I'm in Minnesota. Couldn't get anybody in Minnesota to want to do it, so we ended up launching it in Wisconsin, which worked out fine. And now there's pretty much every state has some dementia friendly communities. They kind of went on hiatus
Yeah.
over COVID. But hopefully that will pick back up, and those are through the AAA pretty much now in every state.
Yeah, and, art is like, my mom is great. It has a specific, likes knitting, but then you
Mhm.
can highlight her, and
Mhm.
her artwork. Oh my gosh, I've been in so many homes and seen so many different things, and even art collections of just. I mean, I've seen Van Gogh pictures on the wall, and people have this obsession of even growing flowers, specific flowers, orchid gardens and rose gardens, and and this is what who they are. This is what they're about. This is what their identity of who they are. And so art is just hits that brain, and it's something that they never forget. But it's so great if it's in their home that you can constantly remind them of how great of a person you are and how much of accomplishments and what you can do, and have
Mhm.
those items in front of them. Makes a big difference in the experience, especially when you're the caretaker, to be able
Yeah.
to discuss with them. And some of our clients don't even have hobbies, so it's if they have something there, you nearly need to make, I would say, create joy.
Yeah.
Joy. That's all we have in life is what we need to create, in someone's day or moment, and especially with dementia. But then you have Dementia Map,
Mhm.
so you went again and created something on top of everything that you do. Is Tell us about Dementia Map.
Well, Dementia Map, myself and my co-founder Dave Wiedrich, who has the Memory Cafe, pulled that together, and that really was that's been almost a 40-year dream of mine. From the day my mom got diagnosed, I was like, "Where's the resources? There's got to be resources," and no one had really pulled anything together. And the way we work here in the US typically is we're not overly collaborative. People will tell you they are, but I can tell you we're not. And we're not near to the point that we need to be. In fact, I got so frustrated at one point, I called the executive director of Alzheimer's Disease International when I first started out trying to get people to work together. And he just laughed because I said, I might have to move, you know? And he's like, you don't get it. People in the United States left here because they didn't want to be about the greater good. They didn't want to look at things that way. They wanted to be proprietary, and that's what you've built over there. And I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. So Dementia Map is a place where people can go and mine for resources, products, and tools for free. They don't have to sign in. They don't have to worry about being hacked or scammed. You're giving no personal information. There's no pop-up saying let's chat that can be really disruptive and disoriented. There's no moving parts on it. We have four different segments in the map itself. One is a resource directory. We have 150 different categories you can choose from. Then we have a calendar of events that you can scroll over. There's lots and lots of free stuff, and then and some are for fee, but many of them are free. And then we have a glossary of terms because you don't know what you don't know. And then we have a blog. And so we are not putting any businesses in just to put them in. We want them to input and be in control of their messaging. And we want people who are going to be responsive to the public. We want to directly connect them. So again, no cost to the end user. And then we have a free listing, or we have two enhanced listings, depending on if somebody wants, extra exposure through banner ads and writing more articles and a variety of different features and things there. So we're really excited about that. It's growing all the time. We just are starting an affiliate program that's going to be launching here soon, and so that's exciting as well, to be able to help people with their own budgets and also get a discount at the same time. And our end goal is we just want to draw people in so that families and professionals both can find the support they deserve, because everything is not in our own backyard. I mean, we wouldn't have the dementia friendly communities or memory cafes if we weren't talking overseas.
I mean, also they can't afford to have anybody else help. If it's just your family members, the best thing is educating everyone about this change that happened. And obviously, change is difficult for some. Everyone handles it in different ways. But if they can go out and utilize all these resources, they can make the change and redirect in a better, different way. We don't know can be terrifying and dramatic in the beginning. And when family members are involved, it can be very emotional, especially when making decisions. But when they go out and like you said, when they go out and educate themselves, then they might realize that, hey, listen, we've been handling this the wrong way, and there's lots of people that have had same experiences as us, and then can, like I said, make more of a enjoyable experience.
Yeah. Well, and we're thrilled that Affinity, senior care is in there. We need as many resources in there as possible, and people can search by location. But what also businesses have to remind themselves of, and they get it probably less than families do, that a care team isn't all local. And so a lot of times businesses say, well, we have to stay local because this is who we serve. And it's like, but if their son's in London and their daughter's in, California, and their nephew's in Minnesota, and everybody's trying to help out, but they might not know sister communities, this system can really help with that, big time, in terms of getting people connected. Same with businesses, for even your staff to be able to give out the resource to your families can save your staff time. And
Yeah.
families like kind of digging through that stuff. There's like All's Authors that has over 300 authors that have been through the experience of dementia, that have written, various books. There's Saltbox TV, which is a free online streaming service developed specifically for seniors, or the footbar walker that was developed by two friends for two friends that allowed their loved one to stay home for more years and reduce injury on both the man who needed the walker, George, and his wife Peggy. It's incredible the resources that people will find out there once they start kind of browsing through. People are just shocked at the variety.
Yeah, it is. There's just so much out there. That's the value of using digital media, and I would totally advise any business owner in the USA to connect with Lori and connect with her and be part of it, because she did say that we are part of her network. And the only reason why is that here at office we have our own dementia support group on Facebook. It's called Dementia Support Group. We and our own podcast show, and and an education series on YouTube. But the purpose is that it's not for our benefit to be able to gain a client. It is to give resources for the family member that's hurting. And because we know this condition, it can be nasty. It's really difficult, and not all behaviors are going to be the same. And when you compare your mom and your dad with your friends and family members who had dementia, it may be totally the opposite. And it's not fair for anybody to walk alone during dementia, during their loved ones who have dementia, because it takes, what the most important thing is, we know, and especially with COVID now, is time.
Mhm.
Time out of our life. And when you have kids and family and work and all the other things that happen in our life, the last thing we want to do is on our last days with our loved ones is like, it's a burden,
Mhm.
and so there's just always a better way. And that's why I'm so connected. I'm so happy to be part of Lori, and I'm honored just have her on my show here, and to be able to just utilize and her resources that she has. And I really thank you so much for being on my show. And if you could end it with something that you feel that the someone again uh, who is going through hard times
Mhm.
right now, well, what would you give them? What type of motivation, inspiration would you give them?
Well, for one, if you're caring for someone, if it's dementia or not, I came up with this tool called Your Memory Chip, and it switched for me going by my to-do list, which was all about them and everything I had to do that day, to focusing first on, are they safe? Are they happy? Are they pain-free? And when you do that, you will find not everything on your task list do you have to do. Sometimes we put it there to keep busy because we don't know what else to do, but it allows you to be that son, that daughter, that spouse, that friend first. It allows you to read their nonverbals. It allows you to kind of breathe easier when you know they're content, when they're happy, that we don't always have to keep them busy. Or maybe just sit next to them in silence. We don't always have to fill air. And when we do that, when we're caring for them in that fashion, we're also caring for ourselves, and we're allowing ourselves to breathe. And again, I would say for care partners, don't disconnect from your own world. Still make time for your friends, because you need your soul to be filled. And I pushed that away too long, and I didn't know how empty I got until I finally decided to meet with my friends, not because I really wanted to go see them, but I wanted to get them off my back because it was one more thing that I had to do. And then I was really only going to be there for 10 minutes, like in, out, check, it's done. Leave me alone. Because they were calling me every week to have coffee. Um, and and we laughed and we cried for 2 hours, and I never missed after that because I didn't realize how much I needed to laugh, how much I needed the support in friendship. Because you push it aside, and we can't do that, because when we do, we can't care as well.
Yeah, yeah. What great advice. I know I can never, I still don't imagine, because I only know from my clients the pain that and you know that it could have on losing your parent and watching them change. And so I think that the most passionate people like you who be able to make a difference is that they've gone through that experience, you know? And anybody, I'm going to advise, if they're listening to this show, please check out her resources. I'm going to put it back up on the screen here. Go to alzheimersspeaks.com, and also check out Dementia Map. And you can reach out to Lori anytime. And she's on all social media platforms. So you can go ahead and check her out and send her a message if you're going through anything. Well, thank you for welcome to our show here at Affinity at Coffee with Chris. We appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you. Can I say one more thing? Because when you mentioned about the loss of parents and things like that,
Absolutely.
I would really encourage people to realize when you are grieving that deeply and feeling that loss, flip the table on that and realize that you couldn't feel that much pain and that much loss if you first didn't love that deeply. And a lot of people never, ever love that deeply. So
Wow,
that really is a gift.
that is deep, Lori. Yeah, it is. It's a gift to even just experience that love from a parent, or anybody in life, and that impact is that should be translated in the decision making,
Yep.
and um, it we both can say it's not going to be easy. And I only cause I have more quantity of experience because of my clients that. But when I face my dad right now and my mom, and I look at them that they're independent, and I don't know how their behaviors will be,
Yeah. Well,
but I
just
could
like,
only imagine, but from what
mhm,
I know, is that it could bring a tear to my eye to know that when I walk in the room and they didn't remember who I was,
yeah,
and and so it's a joy to be able to, if your parents are independent now, to savor that time,
yeah.
and while they're here and they're independent, this is the time to live with them, and not wait for them to even have dementia.
Yeah. Well, and on the flip side is we could get hit by a bus tomorrow and we could be incapacitated. So it's not just necessarily an aging thing.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'll bring up is a lot of my friends said to me over the years, "Gosh, Laura, you have so many cool stories about your parents." And I don't have those because mine were independent, so they kind of left them alone. And they're like, I need to get closer because I want your stories. And they might be on different levels. It doesn't make any difference. Stories are stories and they're embedded in our heart. And
Yeah.
so even as someone, if they progress, if it's dementia or something else, and they have less skill sets, they still have the ability to communicate and connect and teach us lessons. Look at the lessons little kids teach us all the time, about how to care. They don't have the judgment. My mom got rid of her ego. That kind of went out the door. And so she was one of the safest people I could ever go see because she didn't judge me. There was none of that. It was just total acceptance. Those things are gifts, but if you're scared to be around that, if you're scared to try, you're going to miss out on a lot.
Yeah, it's and in life, it's all you have to try and fail, and also to the maybe that person that you don't want to be around that does tell you the truth.
Mhm.
Sometimes you evaluate that feeling that you have. Maybe really they are telling you the truth, but your
Yeah.
inside is maybe, and that sometimes come from the higher up, and when that's specifically sometimes our parents. But is it really sometimes you don't you live in a different state or you don't have that relationship, but a phone call a day makes a difference for the every day really in their day,
Yeah.
and it could be just to check up on how they're doing. Well, you and we could talk about this forever.
Yeah.
We're completely connected on that's for sure. But I thank you for having us on our show, and we appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you, Chris, and keep up the good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye bye.